Back in 2012, I went to one day of this little con in the Wisconsin Dells. 4 years later, I finally returned, and for the most part, I'm really glad I did. Daishocon has grown in a great way. Daishocon is a medium-sized con that calls the Kalahari and the Wisconsin Dells its home. This is a very unique location for a convention. Besides the fact that they have free parking, which feels pretty rare at cons nowadays, there's also an indoor water park, an arcade, an indoor theme park, bowling, laser tag, go-karting, and so much more, all located in the same building as the convention. The con itself takes place on the other end of the building, but it isn't a far walk to go explore all of this for yourself. I will say, as someone who does video, that the lighting in this convention is horrible, so if you go to cons for pictures or video, just keep that in mind, but I know this won't affect that many people. What does affect everyone is overcrowding, but honestly, I didn't feel it was that big of a deal. I had multiple people tell me that the convention was way overcrowded and that they felt it should move soon. I really disagree. Sure, it did get crowded, but maybe it's because I've been to so many other larger cons where overcrowding is a much bigger issue. The only place it really would get a bit bad was the main stretch where the artist alley was located, but I still feel I have seen much worse. I will agree that as the con continues to grow, overcrowding in this area will get worse, but I disagree with the jump to move the whole convention. A location like this is rare, and I don't think giving it up is a good idea. I would say, instead, before moving is ever even talked about, the artist alley should be moved into its own room. I know the artists love to be out in the hallway, but as it gets more crowded, this would be the best way to really open up a lot of space. Registration for Daishocon went pretty fast. There seemed to be a lot of good organization in this area. I heard a lot about how registration was horrible last year, so it seemed they really improved. One thing I do have a problem with is Daishocon's lack of one-day badges. This was a problem I had in 2012, and I was shocked to see they still didn't sell one-day badges after all this time. Can you imagine going to this con for Sunday alone and having to pay their full $50 price tag? Sure, you can pre-register, but a lot of people who go to cons for one day are people that decide they can make it last minute. Considering the fact that so many cons of every size offer a one-day badge, I really feel this is unacceptable for Daishocon. They're becoming a very well-known con, and to be blunt about it, not offering a discounted one-day badge comes off very greedy. This isn't just me. I talked to a lot of people this weekend. This needs to change. This is all before even mentioning that they're the only con I've ever been to that doesn't offer any type of press badge for people wanting to help cover their con. Just something to think about. I love the dealer's room at Daishocon. Sure, it isn't the biggest dealer's room on earth, but for the size of the con, I felt it was just big enough. The lack of anything K-pop was a little sad, but that's just me. I also was very surprised by the game room at Daishocon. This is a convention that literally has an arcade, a water park, and a theme park. It would be very easy to slack on the game room and just say there's plenty to do at the location how it is. But Daishocon didn't do this at all. When I walked into the game room, I was very impressed. Not only was it a nice size for this convention, the more I think about it, it's probably in my top 5 anime con game rooms I've seen so far. Daishocon had what they called their anime lab, which is their version of a viewing room. The difference here is the room was well lit, with couches surrounding multiple TVs. I really loved this idea, as it seemed to make people be much more social while watching anime. They had an action room, where they had things like foam sword fighting, and at one point even a huge Nerf fight. Would love to see more cons do things like this. Daishocon also had a few areas for cosplay meetups, but I want to give a shout out to their cosplay island. Not a lot of cons offer a well-lit room with a large stage for meetups and photo shoots. This is a fantastic idea, and I hope to see more cons adopt it. Finally, I want to mention Daishocon's cosplay contest. If you have seen one, you've seen them all. Or that's what some people would tell you, but not at Daishocon. I was shocked at how well put together the cosplay contest was. From lighting, to sound, and even the intermission was actually very entertaining, whereas a lot of cons, it's just the con staff up there being cringy. I went in a bit late to get a 10-second shot of the crowd, but I ended up staying for the next 2 hours. It was very well done. Great job to whoever put that together. The size of this convention is medium. Before this year, I would have said it was a small con, but they're growing fast, and I feel after this year, they've definitely moved up to medium. Location gets an 8 out of 10. I do really love this location for how rare it is. Free parking, water parks, arcades, indoor theme parks, and just being located in the Dells. But it isn't perfect. While I feel it isn't as dire as what some people say, there is starting to be an overcrowding problem. The convention center rooms seem to all be being used, so they can't really expand much more, and lighting really sucks. But all in all, I still think it's an awesome location. Organization gets a 9 out of 10. I really did try to find something wrong here, but it wasn't easy. The only real problems were a few things opening or starting late. They did a fantastic job organizing everything. The dealer's room gets a 7 out of 10. It really is a great dealer's room for the size of the con, but I don't feel that it's a major selling point for Daishocon. It's great, but there's definitely a lot better out there. The game room gets a 9 out of 10. This game room was fantastic. Probably one of the best I've seen at a con this size. I feel they could push a bit more in there though. But really, it's fantastic as is. The guests get a 6 out of 10. I didn't come for the guests, but they seem to have a good lineup. I would see it being much better if this was a smaller con, but as they grow, I feel they need to start bringing more voice actors and industry guests. I don't think it was a bad guest list by any means, but I doubt many people came out for the guests alone. The staff gets a 10 out of 10. Honestly, every staff member I talked to was very helpful. I didn't meet one that was rude, and they all really seemed to enjoy being on staff. A con is always better when you can tell the people running it love what they're doing. The rave gets an 8 out of 10. This rave exceeded my expectations. Not only was their stage setup very enjoyable to look at, the lighting seemed to be pretty good. But of course, the most important thing is that the DJs sounded good. I was only able to stay for 1.5 sets, but what I heard I really liked. There was a bit of weirdness with security though. I was allowed in with my camera no problem, but one of my friends was told he couldn't have his camera at all. Another friend was told he couldn't, but then they changed their minds later and he could. Just kind of weird. Try to get everyone on the same page. Daishocon is a great con that is only going to keep growing bigger. While I don't agree with every little thing the con does, I do really love this convention. For anything they do wrong, there is so much more they're doing right. I feel that if your drive is less than 5 hours, this con is without a doubt worth visiting. At the end of the day, I give Daishocon 2016 an 8 out of 10. An awesome con. Hey guys, thanks for watching that video. I left annotations to other videos you might like. Also, I left annotations to my Patreon and my merch shop. Definitely check those out because those are what allow me to keep making videos. Thanks again for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next video.